Doing well, and welcome to our second feedback session. So thank you very much to everybody who watched the two lessons and have completed the tasks. That's absolutely amazing that you are, trying to improve your writing, trying to improve your lives. Really, really admire you for that. So thank you very much for doing that. So what we're going to do in this lesson is I've looked at all of the main body paragraphs that you submitted over the last 24 hours, and I'm going to give you some feedback. So we're going to look at the common things that I spotted that you guys didn't do so well, and then we're going to look, after looking at those, we're going to look at some good samples. So talking about why those things are good and what you should be doing, and then you can apply that to your writing. So before we get going, just let me check that the video is working okay, because it's live, and sometimes live video works and sometimes it doesn't. All right. And then you can apply that. So it seems to be working fine. Just let me check that this is working. Cool. Yeah, everything seems to be working fine. So we'll just give it another few seconds and then we can begin. Yep, everything's working fine. All right. So the format for today is the same as Tuesday. So today's Thursday. I'm going to show you the feedback lesson, and then at the end we'll do a Q&A session. So if you have any questions, just leave them until the end of the lesson, and then you can post them below the video, and then we can get going. All right, so without further ado, let's get going. Okay, here we go. All right. So we're going to look at the feedback for all of your tasks, two main body paragraphs that we did. So we'll just give it another few seconds, and just checking the comments to see there's no complaints. Yep, everything's working. Yeah, when nobody complains, it's a very good sign that everything's working okay. So we're going to look at the feedback. All right, so let's just remind ourselves what we've done this week. On Monday, we looked at the first building block of your essay, which was the introduction. Then on Tuesday, I give you feedback on your introductions. Hopefully, you were able to see that and you were able to apply the feedback to your introductions and improve in that way. Yesterday, we did a whole lesson on main body paragraphs. Today, we're going to give you feedback on that. So it's important that you consider the feedback, apply it to your own work, and improve in that way. Tomorrow, very important, we're going to finish off with conclusions at 1 p.m. tomorrow. It's really important that you finish off your essay well, and there's a really simple way of doing this, and we're going to show you that tomorrow at Friday at 5 p.m. and so that you guys don't have to do any work on a Saturday or Sunday, we're going to do the feedback at 5 p.m. tomorrow. So at 5 p.m. I'm going to do all the feedback for you tomorrow at 5 p.m. And all these lessons are recorded, but I'll be deleting them at the end of the week. The reason for that is because I don't want you guys to procrastinate, to say that you'll do it someday and someday never happens. Also, at the end of the week, a lot of you have been asking about how you can join our VIP course, so I'll be giving you more information about that. We only work with a very small number of students, but I've looked at the numbers and I'm going to open up a small number of places for anybody who wants to join. Well, not anybody who wants to join, but a small number of you will be able to join. Okay, so this was the question that we looked at. Nowadays, artificial intelligence is being used to drive cars. Why is this happening? Is it a positive or negative development? So what I asked you to do was to take this question and write two main body paragraphs for that. Only, 200 or 300 of you out of 15,000 did that, which is a shame. And you might have seen some of the other videos that I posted just talking about taking action and how important it is to take action. Let's talk about that just for a second. So you'll probably have noticed that I'm a little different from your average teacher. Your average IELTS teacher, is going to be not really care about your progress, and, is going to be happy all the time and telling you you're doing a great job, even though you might not be doing a great job. One of our main principles, so we have 10 principles in our company. One of our main principles is we treat everyone how we would want our loved ones to be treated. So that's how we treat the members of our team. That's how we treat our students. That's how we treat anybody who comes into contact with the company. We treat them exactly in the same way that I would want my wife or my son to be treated. So would I want a teacher to lie to my wife or son? So many of you emailed me and said, thank you for telling me the truth. Thank you for telling me that there was something wrong with my writing. Because many teachers, because this is the easiest thing to do, is just tell everyone, good job, you're doing a great job, no worries. But that's you're kind of lying to people when you do that. So I wouldn't want someone to do that. However, I'm not going to be negative all the time. I'm not going to be negative all the time and just tell you negative stuff all the time. I wouldn't want my wife or my son to be treated in that way either. However, I believe in being compassionate, but many of you need the truth. And the truth is, you're going to fail. All right, looking at a lot of your work, and most of you who haven't even submitted work, high probability, like 99% probability, next time you do the test, if you don't do anything to change that, you're going to fail. That might sound harsh, but you will pass if you change. But if you do the same things, you're going to get the same result. Guys, I care that you get the result that you need. I see that people fail all the time, wasting money. So I'd rather tell you something that might sound harsh, it might sting a little bit, but in the end, if my son was going to fail something or my wife was going to fail something, I would tell them, even though I love them. There's too many teachers out there that I call them Disney teachers, where like everything is positive, everything's great, good job, but they're lying to you. They're not telling you the truth. So a lot of the things that I'm going to say are going to sound negative. They're going to sound like I'm criticizing you, because I am. But it comes from a place of trying to help you rather than just being negative. So let's look at some of the common problems that I saw. So let me quickly check the comments to make sure that you can hear me and everything's working okay. Okay. Just 1 second, guys, and then just checking that everything seems to be working okay. All right. Okay. So the first one was some of you, not all of you, but some of you didn't even follow the basic structure that I gave you. Let's talk about structures for a second. There's not one structure to follow, one magic structure. Some teachers say, use my magic Band 9 secret super structure. Like, it doesn't work like that. There are a lot of different structures that you can use that are correct. However, there are a lot of different structures that are completely incorrect. So this guy that I'm going to show you now, I don't know what he's following, but you can see by following this, he's definitely not following my structure. So what he does is, let's see, artificial intelligence is being used in present time. This is due to advancements in technology, and it should be seen as a positive development for it. So he's putting two ideas into his topic sentence in the main body paragraph. Then no explanation, then straight into an example. So this is something that I said to not do. And I'm not saying that if you use a different structure you're going to be wrong, but I can only teach you what I think is correct. So if you're going to follow me, it would be a good idea to follow the basic structure. Here's another person who, this is their main body paragraph. The benefits are numerous, and it enhances the transportation systems of the country, thereby reducing road accidents and ensures proper conditions of cars. All right, so no explanation, no example, and just 3 ideas. Well, they said there's lots of them. then here's one idea, then here's a second idea, here's a third idea. Hopefully you can see that just doing your own thing and not following what I say is maybe not the best approach to use. My best advice would be, because there's so many different teachers and books and blogs and YouTube channels and all of these different things, you might become, or not you might, you will be very, very, very confused if you're looking at multiple different sources of information. So it doesn't have to be me, it can be someone else, but find someone you trust and stick to how they teach things. You don't want to be going into the exam with 4 or 5 different ways to write a main body paragraph. Your writing is a reflection of your thinking, so be very careful there. A very, very basic mistake, but many of you might be like, oh, I would never do this, but a lot of you did do this, was just no paragraphing whatsoever. So I'm going to show you this. I don't know what this is, but imagine you're an examiner trying to read this. So is this an introduction? Is this a main body paragraph? Is this an introduction and 2 main body paragraphs? Is it 1 main body paragraph? Is it 2 main body? I've no idea what this is because there's no paragraphing at all. So you're making it extremely difficult for the reader to understand what is going on. And a person reading this, they won't bother trying to figure this out. They'll just give you a low mark for coherence and cohesion, a very low mark for coherence and cohesion. Same with this one. So I don't know if this is 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs. I don't know if it's an introduction, a main body. Like there's nothing to tell me where 1 paragraph ends and the next begins. Obviously, do make an effort to make it very clear to the reader where 1 paragraph ends and the next one begins. A very simple way of doing that is skip a line. Skip a line, skip 2 lines if you want, but make it very clear where your introduction ends and your main body paragraph start and the difference between all of your paragraphs. Another thing that lots of you did, many of you did, was you just copied my work. So you didn't copy it exactly, but you may as well have. So like this person, developments in technology has made it possible. So, okay, copied my idea. This is feasible due to the availability of large amounts of data. Copied my explanation. Copied my example. I know many of you come from countries, and I've taught in many of these countries where plagiarism is not a big issue. Where it is common for people to just copy stuff, and many of you are being taught, or many of you have this strategy that you think that if you just look at lots of band 9 essays, or if you look at lots of good essays and you memorize them or copy them, you'll get a high score. That never works. Never, ever, ever, ever works. The examiner knows exactly what you're doing. You probably won't answer the question, and you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, and you're a plagiarist. Like, it's a very serious offense in the Western world, and in most countries anyway. Don't prepare for your IELTS by copying other people's work. You're going to get in a lot of trouble if you do that, both by failing the test, and there could be other consequences as well. No position whatsoever. By position, what I mean is it's your position, what you think about the question. So your position is another way of saying like what your opinion about the question is, or what you think about the question. So for example, why is this happening? Your position would be the reason why you think this is happening. Do you think this is positive or negative? Your position is you think that you say it's positive or negative, and a reason why you think that. You cannot get a high mark in IELTS Writing Task 2 if your position is not clear, if what you think is not clear. Many of you did this. The world has experienced a huge, unprecedented advancement in technology in recent years, particularly in the automobile industry. So, this is just background. This is just background information. This is nothing to do with a topic sentence because it has no position in it. There's no main idea in it. Many of you asked me, so why can I not just include background information? Because it's just a complete waste of time. Vehicles are manufactured with technology for AI, for self. Okay, you've just repeated exactly what's in the question. So you should be explaining things, but instead you're just repeating what is in the question. Take an example of Vorge cars, which is made in China. They have devices that enable remote control and hence self-driven. Due to this, they are the best-selling cars. All right, no opinion, no position, nothing. Again, this comes from not following structure, just doing your own thing. It also comes from copying bad habits from people who don't know what they're doing. A lot of stuff I see on the internet is just background information, vague statements, no position, just nonsense. So by stating your position clearly in the topic sentence, then explaining how that clearly answers the question, and then using an example to support that point, you're making your position, what you think about the question, extremely clear. And we'll look at that when we look at the good samples in a moment. A lot of you, and this is the most, I've interviewed so many different IELTS examiners and IELTS experts and spoke to them. One question I always ask them is, what's the most annoying thing about marking essays or looking at essays, or what's the thing that students do that annoys you the most? And the answer to that question, no matter who it is the same. It's students focusing on using high-level vocabulary that they don't know how to use, rather than clearly just answering the question. So this is a perfect example of this. Driverless vehicle doesn't mean anything. Technological lift, error. Automation sector, error. Computer manageable programs, error. You see what I mean? Error, 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 error. This person has focused just on vocabulary. Their main focus is showing off how many big words they know without thinking about grammar, collocations, spelling, or meaning. Interpret human-like sensitivity. That doesn't mean anything in English. Artificially engineered softwares doesn't mean anything in English. Artificial mechanics doesn't mean anything. Trailblazing growth in automobile. Why would you insert that? There's nothing to do with anything you're talking about. So this person, in an attempt to show off how amazing their vocabulary is, they'll probably get a band 5 for vocabulary because they've made so many errors, and the errors that they're making are so big that it stops the person who's reading it from understanding what they're trying to say. They're also going to get a very low mark for coherence and cohesion because it's not coherent, because coherence means, is it clear, is it easy to read? They're also going to get a very, very low mark for task achievement because the person reading it has no idea what they actually think about the question because the language that they're using doesn't mean anything. This comes from teachers telling their students, you get a high mark by using big words, which is the worst thing you could ever say to a student. Lack of cohesion. So cohesion, many of you believe that cohesion means just using lots of cohesive devices or using lots of linking words. That's a very small part of it. One of the main parts of cohesion is, do the ideas in the different parts of your essay link up with one another? In other words, does what you say in the introduction match what you say in the main body paragraphs, and does what you say in the main body paragraphs match your conclusion? Many of you had multiple different things like this one. Like this person is talking about advancements in technology in their introduction, but then they're talking about manufacturing more efficient cars in their topic sentence. why would you talk about one thing in your introduction and then something completely different in your topic sentence? That is incoherent. There's no cohesion to your essay. This should link up with this, and then this should link up with your second main body paragraph, and then your conclusion should summarize all of that. Again, this comes from bad teaching. This comes from teachers telling students you cannot repeat anything. Everything needs to be different. So try writing an essay where you've got different ideas in your introduction, and then different ideas in your main body paragraphs, and then different ideas again in your conclusion, and then try and hand it to someone and say, do you understand what I'm writing about? It'll be completely incoherent. There'll be no cohesion. So be very, very careful with that. A number of you did quite a good job with topic sentences, but they were very vague. Your topic sentences need to be specific, all right? So it is an irrefutable fact that a human has made a huge progress in technology. What does that mean? That is not answering the question. It is not specific. Nowadays, machine learning is the topic of interest. So it's so vague that it means nothing, basically. Again, this comes from people copying essays that have vague background statements in them instead of topic sentences which actually show the reader that you're answering the question. Another very, very common mistake was explanations not answering the question. So if you read this explanation, the cars with this technology have automatic brake in case of crash danger, automatic temperature adjustment, and self-driving by driver choice. Today, a lot of car brands are implementing this system. So this is not really explaining why this is happening. This is just giving lots of information about the general topic. There's a big difference between an effective essay and just writing everything that comes into your head about the topic. A very common mistake is just what I call a shotgun approach. A shotgun approach, like if you think of how a shotgun shoots bullets out, it's just a wide spread. Let's just shoot and hope that we hit something. Whereas I teach my students to be like a sniper or a surgeon. So another analogy would be a butcher cutting or a surgeon cutting. A butcher is just hacking away at the meat without any precision, whereas a surgeon is making very deliberate, precise cuts with a view to achieving a very specific goal. That's the difference between a good essay and a bad essay, really. Many of you tried to use examples, but your examples had nothing to do with your main point. Your main point should be supported by your example. Your example is there to support your main point. If you don't do that, your whole argument doesn't make sense. Imagine I'm having an argument with my wife, and she's arguing that I came home late. And then I said, no, I didn't come home late. For example, I ate potatoes last night for dinner. She'd be like, what? What's that got to do with anything? It doesn't make any sense. Your example must support your argument, must support your main point. Let's look at this one. So their main point is that they are implementing... Okay, so the advancements in technology, copied mine. Okay. For example, Cristiano Ronaldo last month bought a Jaguar that does not need him on the front seat to go and come, just needs its digital. What has Cristiano Ronaldo buying a smart car, anything to do with advancements in technology? Hopefully you can see why that's not really relevant. Here's another one. For example, my uncle owns a self-driving car, and he is amazed by the precision and accuracy of these automated systems, adding to the mental rest of not driving when the road is really congested. What's your uncle got to do with the world at large? Your uncle could be mentally ill and just be telling everybody that he has a smart car. He could be a liar and just be lying to everybody about his smart car. No offense to the person who wrote this, but using your uncle as an example to prove a global point is not very effective. it's kind of like saying, oh, smoking doesn't kill anyone. My grandfather lived to 98 and he smoked every day of his life. Doesn't mean anything. That's your grandfather. There's overwhelming evidence from millions of people that smoking does, prematurely kill people. So, like, or ice cream doesn't make people fat. I eat ice cream all the time and I'm not fat. Yeah, that's you. But, 99% of the rest of the world wouldn't agree with you. This one. For instance, recent news